COPWATCH, policing the police every single day.
First, there was Barbecue Becky, then Permit Patty. Now social media has dubbed this guy Pool Patrol Paul after he called the cops on a black woman and her son who were heading to a members-only pool. Many say this is yet another case of racial profiling caught on tape.
Has it happened again? This homeowner called the cops allegedly because he didn't think a black woman and her son belonged to a members-only pool in North Carolina.
We have a resident, or a non-resident that's at the pool that refuses to leave. We'd be happy to have her here if she just shows some identification.
I feel this is racial profiling. I'm the only black person here with my son in the pool, and nobody else was asked their ID.
When police got there, Jasmine Edwards quickly established she had every right to be there, handing over her key card.
If she has a card to get in the pool, I believe that should be enough.
Okay, let's validate that it works then.
And then we shouldn't have a problem, right? Turns green and it unlocks.
The homeowner, identified as Adam Bloom, gave in.
That's good enough for me today.
Do you want to apologize, Adam? Adam, do you want to apologize for what you just did?
Bloom is the pool chair of the Homeowners Association. The swim club issued this statement. In confronting and calling the police on one of our neighbors, the pool chair escalated a situation in a way that does not reflect the inclusive values we seek to uphold as a community. Now social media is dubbing him Pool Patrol Paul. He joins a growing list of situations in which law enforcement has been called on black people for doing ordinary things. This woman was given the name Barbecue Becky after she reported these guys having a barbecue in a park.
It's illegal to have a charcoal grill in the park here.
This woman got the moniker Permit Patty after she called police on a little girl selling water.
This woman don't want to let a little girl sell some water. She calling police on an 8-year-old little girl. You can hide all you want. The whole world gonna see you, boo.
As for the man they're calling Pool Patrol Paul, his lawyer issued this statement. Mr. Bloom feels terrible for the pain this must have caused Ms. Edwards and her family. Mr. Bloom's intentions during this incident were to enforce the pool's rules uniformly, without preference or prejudice.
I feel this is racial profiling. I'm the only black person here.
Police departments across the country are encouraging people who are having disagreements to try to talk through their problems before calling 911.
Five infuriating cases showing how people are getting fed up with all the snitches. As 2018 marks the summer of the snitch, it appears that people have finally had enough of neighborhood busybodies. By John Vibes, July 22, 2018. Snitches are not a new problem. They have been terrorizing communities in America for decades, but this summer it seems like people have finally had enough, and are beginning to fight back. In the past, cop callers have been able to play the role of the concerned citizen or innocent victim, despite the fact that they were unleashing violent mercenaries on people who are no threat to anyone. In most situations where police are called, a simple conversation will solve the problem without the risk of violent escalation, which is sadly common in police encounters. However, there have been multiple recent incidents across the country that give us some hope that the tables are beginning to turn on the snitches. In these cases, the nosy neighbors didn't get a pass and a pat on the head, but were instead publicly humiliated and even lost their jobs in some circumstances. Has the American snitch culture finally worn out its welcome? Below are a few recent situations where paranoid busybodies with nothing better to do called the cops on innocent people, and many of them quickly came to regret it. Barbecue Becky. The summer of the snitch began this May, at Lake Merritt Park in Oakland, California, when a woman called the police on a black family for having a barbecue. Although they were all in a public park, the woman, who the internet later named Barbecue Becky, accused the family of trespassing, and told them that they were going to jail. However, much to Barbecue Becky's dismay, when the police showed up, they did not make any arrests or write any citations and allowed the barbecue to continue. Footage of the encounter went viral, and instead, Barbecue Becky became the most popular meme on the internet for several weeks. Now, Kenzie Smith, a member of the family who had the police called on them that day, is running for city council in Oakland. View image on Twitter. View image on Twitter. Michelle Dione Cat. At Shell Dione. It's official, Kenzie Smith is running for District 2 Oakland City Council. 4:48 p.m., June 25, 2018 Oakland, CA. 118. 43 people are talking about this. Twitter adds info and privacy. Permit Patty. Allison Attell, the CEO of a cannabis company called Treatwell Health, was recently forced to resign from her position after she snitched on an 8-year-old girl who was selling water on the sidewalk. Attell threatened to report the young girl for selling water without a permit, and thus became known as Permit Patty. She claimed that she was only threatening to make the call to scare the girl and that she didn't actually call the police, but the 911 call was later released to the media. After the call was released, Attell changed up her story, telling CNN that I did call the police, but not on anybody. I said I'd like to talk with someone about if something is legal or not. I said I am not doing a report, and I am not asking for any dispatch. I just want information. I asked, is this legal? She said no. There was a happy ending for the little girl who was selling water, as it was recently reported that a Good Samaritan was offering to pay for her to go on a trip to Disneyland. Raj Rose. At _Ethiopian Gold. So my little cousin was selling water and didn't have a permit, so this lady decided to call the cops on an 8-year-old. #Permit Patty. 1:35 p.m., June 23, 2018. 219K. 105K people are talking about this. Twitter adds info and privacy. Pool Patrol Paula. A woman named Stephanie Sebi Strempel threatened to call the police on a 15-year-old boy who was invited by a friend to swim at a community pool. In the tirade where she threatened the boy, she repeatedly hit him, and it was all captured on video. The video went viral on Facebook, and instead of arresting the boy, the police later showed up at the woman's house to speak with her, and she ended up getting into an altercation with them and was ultimately arrested after biting one of the officers. Pool Patrol Paul. A man named Adam Bloom was fired from his job and forced to resign from his post on the Homeowners Association after he called the police on a black family for swimming at a pool in their own neighborhood on the 4th of July. 12-year-old Reginald Fields, who owns Mr. Reggie's lawn cutting service, had the police called on him and his friends after they were hired to cut Lucille Holt's lawn. Holt's neighbor was reportedly upset that the young boys accidentally cut a portion of her lawn, even though there was no fence or markings separating the two properties. Holt says that the neighbor has called the police on her numerous times since she recently moved into the neighborhood. The young boys have since received nearly $50,000 through GoFundMe, and they were honored by their local church. Reginald is now using the publicity and money from this ordeal to expand his business. Democratic State Representative Janelle Bynum also had the police called on her earlier this month when she was walking door-to-door campaigning in a neighborhood that she represents. The person who called the police ultimately apologized, and the officers were luckily not hostile during the encounter, but if she did not have political power herself, the situation could have ended much differently. As more and more Americans begin to speak out and face public backlash for snitching, it seems people are finally beginning to learn the value in minding their own business. Now, if only they would apply the same logic to prohibition and foreign policy, one can only hope. Another promising takeaway from these encounters is that police have been cautious to not immediately jump to escalation. This is likely not due to a change of heart, but because they understand that they are under a microscope and that at any moment, a concerned resident can shine a camera on them and publicize their actions. Many of these officers are afraid of becoming the next YouTube famous cop, and it seems that for some, it has actually made them less quick to aggression and escalation, especially when there are cameras around. Police use who may want to retaliate against him physically.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use, and also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, Keep in mind, I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.